We just amend that.
Okay, it's 5 o'clock, so we'll want to go ahead and call this regular scheduled meeting of the Santa Clara City Council to order. I'm Mayor Rick Rosenberg. We have present a full council tonight: Councilman Ben Shakespeare, Councilwoman Janine Burton, Councilwoman Krista Hinton, Councilman Dave Pond, and Councilman Jarrett Wade are all here. We appreciate them being here. Appreciate everyone who's in the audience with us tonight. Hope you feel welcome, except for Jim. I'd like to begin the meeting tonight with an opening ceremony and pledge of allegiance. We've asked Councilman Pond to lead us in that. And then the opening comments are supposed to be offered by Bruce Anderson with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the St. George Interfaith Council. If Bruce is not here, I'll go ahead and offer that, unless you're here to replace him. Okay, all right. Okay, all right, I'll cover if Bruce isn't here. Would everyone please rise and salute the flag?
Repeat after me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, Father, we're grateful to be gathered tonight as a city council with staff and with residents to discuss business that's important to the city. We're grateful for all the many blessings that Thou bestows upon this city. Grateful for the staff and the time that they spend, and grateful for the residents and the amount of care that they have for this community. We pray that Thou would be here to guide us, to give us the influence we need and the education required to accomplish the business that the council needs. Father, we're grateful for the moisture that we received this past week, to be able to keep our water supplies up and make our orchards green. We appreciate all that Thou hast given us. Say these things humbly in the name of Thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, Conflicts and Disclosures Council. Is there anything on the agenda that you would have a conflict of interest that you need to disclose at this point in time? Not too much on there. So I don't think we've got any. We'll go ahead and jump down to the working agenda. Whoops.
Is anybody else's screen froze?
Well, we are not in charge of our own screens, as far as I can tell.
So you just have to push the button.
Click your little button.
Click our button and then we can?
Yeah.
The little button.
Right now you were watching
That
Brock's.
turned mine off.
Here
Oh, now
comes
it's working.
Lance and Brock. They'll give you the...
Mine's working now.
I learned how to write on it. I was gonna doodle. Oh,
Okay.
Now we got it. I got it. I'm good. Thank you.
oh, there it is.
Okay. On the working agenda, we have no public hearings scheduled for tonight. On the consent agenda, council, you have approval of the claims and minutes. The minutes from the January 2nd special city council meeting, the January 10th regular city council meeting, and the claims through January 24th. On the calendar of events, tomorrow night we have the combined city council meeting with Ivans City, and that will be in Ivans at 5:30. 5:30. And then next week we have a regular city council, well, on the 14th anyway, we'll have a regular city council work meeting in February. Will be on the 21st. Is my mic dropping out there? And you're working on it?
We're working on it with the IT people on that one.
Okay. And February 28th, another regular city council meeting. Counselor, is there anything in the claims and minutes you have questions on or comments that you need to make?
Just one, Mayor, that my name is spelled incorrectly in the minutes. There's just 2 R's instead of 1 R. So just for future reference.
Okay. Anything else? If there's no other comments, council, I would look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I second that.
Got a motion by Jarrett and a second by Dave to approve the consent agenda as presented with the edits to Jarrett's name. Any question on that motion, council? This is a money item. Roll call vote. Jarrett?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Krista?
Aye.
Janine?
Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
Ayes have it unanimously. Thank you, council. Item C, general business. C1 is discussion and action to approve ordinance 2024-02, amending Title 17, Chapter 17.92. This is the water efficient landscaping and conservation standards. Jim?
Thanks, Mayor and Council. So we brought this back to you tonight to consider this ordinance for adoption. A little bit of history here. To our knowledge, we were the first community to adopt the water efficient landscaping and conservation standards. I know I said one of the first, but when we did it back in February of 2022, it's my understanding we were the first. This past summer, the Washington County Water Conservancy District Board adopted a new resolution requiring communities to accept some updated standards allowing for participation in the water efficient landscape rebate program, which is the lawn replacement. As a result, the Conservancy District is requesting that communities update their applicable ordinances by March 31st of 2024 to allow for ongoing participation in the program. We did have a public hearing with our Planning Commission on November 9th of 2023, and they did forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council. Previously, we had a City Council discussion. This has been something that's been on the radar for a while, but for our new council members, are we there? We did have a discussion on October 18th of 2023, and then we had a discussion with the Planning Commission on September 28th of 23 prior to having that public hearing in November. If you want to bring up the working copy, that would be great, Brock. Just quickly, state code requirements. Utah State Code Section 109A205 includes requirements for land use ordinance amendments. To amend an ordinance, the City Planning Commission must hold at least one public hearing. So we've done that. We meet the statute. We've done all the noticing. But we've actually had work meetings as well prior to ever scheduling for a public hearing. So there were multiple discussions before it's been brought before the Planning Commission and Council for a decision. Our recommendation, City staff recommends that the City Council approve the proposed code amendment to Chapter 1792, Water Efficient Landscaping and Conservation Standards. Now, I want to go through the ordinance. A number of us have been working on this. City Legal Counsel, Matt Entz, Dustin Moritzen, our Public Works Director, the Mayor and Brock, our City Manager, have also been in discussions with the Conservancy District about this item and making the changes. And so I'm just going to go through them because a couple of our new council members haven't been present for this. So I'm just going to go through the line items. 1792-010 applicability. We've struck the language landscape improvements to be irrigated solely with private non-municipal water may be exempt from certain provisions of this chapter as noted. And then if we go, let me go through this and then we can open it up for questions if that's all right, Mayor, because we have everybody here who's capable of answering those. 1792-020 definitions, there's been some adjustments. So the language you see that's been deleted or stricken is at the advice of the Conservancy District. So now it will say dedicated active play areas where irrigated lawns is used as the playing surface, such as a sports field designated for public use. Active recreation areas shall be 1, a minimum of 1,500 contiguous square feet of lawn area. 2, not less than 30 feet in dimension. Item number 3, not less than 10 feet from areas dedicated to vehicular use, such as a street or parking lot. Item 4, designed and located to be accessible to large populations, such as at a school, daycare, recreation center, senior center, public park, private park, water park, or religious institution. And 5, co-located with amenities including but not limited to trash bins, benches, tables, walking paths, drinking water, playground equipment, and or other recreational amenities. If we go down to drip irrigation, that's just a punctuation update that was put in through track changes. Then if we go to the next page, which is page 3, we don't have any changes there on that particular page. And if we go to 4, here we go. We'll start with lawns. So this language has been removed at the advice of the Conservancy District and replaced with irrigated non-agricultural land planted in closely mowed managed grasses. The previous definition for mulch has been removed and replaced with materials such as, but not limited to, rock, bark, wood chips, uniformly applied upon the surface of the soil to reduce evaporation and weed growth. Mulches must allow penetration of water and air. For purposes of these standards, ungrouted pavers, stepping stones, and artificial turf manufactured permeable to air and water may be considered mulch. Then if we go down to park strip, the new definition, or it states a typical narrow landscaped area located between the back of curb and sidewalk. Planting bed is a new one that's been added. Areas of the landscape that consist of plants such as trees, ornamental grasses, shrubs, perennials, and other regionally appropriate plants. On the next page, there are not any items. And then if we go to the page following that, 6, which is 1792-030, single-family and two-family residential water efficiency standards, some changes have been made here. You'll see that there's a sentence that's been removed from item B, landscape standards. It will now say for all residential construction and development which is subject to this section. And then the following, except where landscaping will be irrigated solely with a private non-municipal water source, has been removed. And then it continues, landscaping must meet the following requirements. So the total irrigated area, lawn area, must not exceed 8% of the lot square footage up to a maximum of 2,500 square feet of lawn area. Lots less than 7,500 square feet are allowed up to 600 feet of lawn. Item 2, single-family homes with limited common areas designated for the exclusive use of the adjacent dwelling shall have the same allowances as a single-family home. And then we're going to go to the next item, 1792-040, which is multifamily residential and non-residential water efficiency standards. If we go to the top of the next page, item 2, you see the water sense label fixtures. That first sentence has been removed and replaced with new and future installations of plumbing fixtures must meet or exceed the water conservation requirements specified in the building code as adopted by Santa Clara City. Then item number 5 is a change, and the new language states man-made ornamental water features are limited to 25 square feet per parcel and are limited to the parcel. So you can see the Conservancy District recommended a change there. And then we have some new language in item number 6 relative to golf courses. It says all golf courses using water district or municipal water supplies shall have a separate meter and irrigate with secondary irrigation water. So the remainder of that sentence has been removed. It stated and must have separate water meters for the golf course. If we go to item B, landscape standards, you'll see again we've removed the language, the language has been removed that says except where landscaping will be irrigated solely with a private non-municipal water source. Item 2, below that says attached and this is new, and this language was given to us by the Conservancy District. Attached multifamily residential units may have up to 100 square feet of lawn per dwelling. Properties with less than 6 dwelling units are allowed up to 600 square feet of lawn. Item 3, lawn areas are prohibited for non-residential uses except where an active recreation area is appropriate, such as a child care center or athletic complex. And that's the end of that. And then I think we skipped 2 pages. And the last change we have is section 1792-050, landscape and irrigation design and operation standards. And you'll see that the provisions of this section shall apply to all new landscaping and irrigation in the city. The remainder of that paragraph has been removed. Mayor, that's what I have at this point in time. We're ready to take some comments or questions as needed, but we'd recommend that the City Council consider adoption and approval of the ordinance for water efficient landscaping and conservation standards as presented.
Thank you, Jim. Any questions for Jim before he sits down, council?
Back to where we started with this on secondary water.
Right.
Because it looks like this has been struck in both locations. So what are we telling someone that owns water shares and is hooked up to the water Are they,
Well, irrigation shares can still be used for orchards, agricultural use, but they're limited on turf to the square footage by ordinance. Now, it's only on new development. This doesn't apply to anything that's already platted out there. So this would be on new development coming forward. The city fought for the last 6 months trying to get an exemption area approved by the district that would allow some of the larger, especially in the RA zone properties, to have more grass if they have that secondary water right to be able to provide their own water, that they could have more lawn. But the state, according to the water district, the state will not, they won't allow any of the state funds for the turf buyback to be used, and if you've got that provision in your ordinance. So Hurricane was the other main city that had that kind of that same provision and concern in theirs. They've had to change and adopt the new one. All of the cities are pretty well being strong-armed to adopt this new standard that minimizes the lawn and the turf area on the lot on new development in order to qualify citywide for the turf buyback funds. But the exemption is there for properties to use it for the orchards, for gardens. It just can't use it for lawn.
yeah. I'm just thinking, yeah, let's just go, we've had this discussion and maybe this is,
Just our Growing Water Smart Conference 2 weeks ago with the Conservancy District and Utah State and DWR up in Cedar City. This came up there too, you know. But what we're being told through the Conservancy District is there really isn't wiggle room. They're not going to allow for an exemption or, you know, amended language if we want to be part of the rebate program, is the way I understand it.
so then let me turn it to a legal question, and I'll use my name, and Matt, I bring my subdivision to the city with my own water, because this was the whole purpose of what we were writing, to try to incentivize to get the water shares in the city, is, hey, bring us your water, and, you know, you'll fall under this ordinance that allows with irrigation more flexibility, but now we've taken that out. So I come to the city with my development, they're 1 acre lots. I own all the water. I've got 20 shares of water. And I'm like, well, I don't want to bring these to the city because now they're going to limit my 1 acre lots to 2,500 square feet on my 44,000 square foot lot. Where do we stand legally on this? Because I keep getting told the states brought the states mandated, but I've never seen it. And I think the turf buyback for that guy with 1 acre lots could mean nothing. Like so I guess where do we stand legally? Are we putting ourselves in a legal?
So, sorry. I'm just going to be really frank. The water district has turned this into a game of chicken between change your ordinance or you lose the turf buyback program. I mean, that's essentially what they've told us. You know, in terms of a legal question, you know, if you're bringing a subdivision in the future, you want the city to plat that subdivision, you have to comply with the city's ordinances. So, you know, if you're talking about does this create any legal issues for the city in the future, I don't think it does. But, you know, I could understand if there are concerns about the position that the water district is putting us in. I mean, I'll just tell you that in the meetings that we've had with water district representatives, we've had some very frank discussions about this and presented our concerns about their position in some pretty frank terms. But they have continued to come back to us, again, using the state as the bad guy, saying, well, the state won't, you know, they won't let us use the money for your city if you don't do this, this, and this. So that's, that's the position that we're in, you know, and that's my perception of the decision that you have to make is, you know, they're saying when March 31st comes around, if you haven't adopted these changes, the residents in your city can no longer take advantage of the turf buyback program. So,
Well, it's interesting as a background to that, from the Conservancy District. Basically, they told us in the event Santa Clara adopts an ordinance with exemptions, we will issue a press release advising the Santa Clara residents that if they enroll prior to March 31st, they can maintain eligibility, but after the 31st, they're ineligible. And then another part to this, which shows some success, it says since we started the program, 83 Santa Clara property owners applied and 52 projects were completed for $142,000 in rebates. I'm expecting those numbers to double in 2024. So this is some of what we've received from certain individuals. I'm not going to name names, but that we may have been at a conference with in the last couple of weeks. This is the kind of stuff we received from them after the conference. So
I'm just thinking, again, from the water shares and what the city took a stance that, hey, we're going to adopt this ordinance, have some flexibility with the canal company and those shareholders because they're a big group and it's a big amount, it's a large amount of water. So we've put that out there to incentivize to get those shares back. And now are we going to require, so a new subdivision,
They don't have to bring shares with them?
they don't have to bring shares with them now?
Oh,
Okay. Under the ord. That was my question. So now they can keep their shares and
they can keep
sell
their
them.
shares.
that's right.
I just, I would love to issue a press release and rebuttal to that press release when it goes out that says, keep in mind, Santa Clara is by far the most fiscal, responsible, and prepared city of all the municipalities in Washington County for the water. We could, with a little bit of work, provide our own water. I mean, it would take an ordinance like this, and it goes back to our forefathers and everybody that's there, but it really, a game of chicken it's just, I mean, I won't go on the record for what I want to say, but I was pretty clear up there. It frustrates me. I mean, we've been 20 years into this thing and hundreds of millions of dollars, and then in the last 5, it's like their eyes opened up that, well, crap, we don't have the water, and so it just feels like we're being, again, I like the ordinance, I just, in area where you have canal companies and you have people that have lived here for a long time that have made really good decisions when it comes to water, just feels like we're being strong-armed a little bit there. And again, I know that we protect the agriculture and that, but I guess if they keep their shares, that's,
They keep their shares, and the water is currently being put to beneficial use by state law, and we're not changing that. They can maintain that beneficial use that it's in now. It's just when they go to do new development, the new development will have to comply with the turf requirements. So we may want to go and visit after, assuming this is adopted, we may want to go and visit our RA zone and look at some of the requirements and limitations of the RA zone. With this in mind now, do you still want to mandate, half-acre subdivision lots where they can only turf 2,500 square feet? Do you want to, allow that property owner maybe something different? So, but to penalize the entire city, I mean, it's not just the people in the valley that got irrigation water that are limited. This is the entire city, and so, almost a couple thousand lots in the Heights wouldn't be able to get access to that buyback money to preserve somebody's, historic use or ability to use in the valley. So we'll, the game of chicken goes both ways. I'll just say that. And they're going to be coming to us for some things too.
yeah.
Just seems like they're taking away rights from the shareholders. That's what it sounds like.
The shareholders have the right to use the water now, and they are putting that water to use by law. So they haven't taken anything away, but they haven't allowed them to be able to develop large lawns on their lots.
Yeah,
Going
it
forward.
really just means that one of the potential benefits of utilizing your water shares is stripped away by this, right? Because previously, it would relieve you from these requirements, and now it doesn't. There's still other benefits, you save money, you don't have to pay municipal rates, you keep your shares, but yeah, that's.
And it's significant. The irrigation, I mean, I pulled it up when we were up at the conference, and I mean, I'm paying whatever the base minimum is, 26, 20, whatever that number was. And so there is a big benefit in that. It's all metered and everything else. And it's, as we move down this road for years, it's only, I mean, we know where we live and we know water's key. It's just, it does feel like I thought we did a really good job getting the ordinance out. I thought we looked at it very well, and then it just feels like it's been, if the strong art piece, but we'll put out a press release that, in fact, I'm gonna walk in their office tomorrow, because that just infuriates, because we were the first to have the meters. We were the first to pass the ordinance. We have all the bulk of our water. We've got wells, we've got an irrigation company, and to make a threat that we're gonna send out a press release that how bad and that's just bad publicity right there. We're doing good things, and we're hung up over one small thing that really affects those that have made all these good decisions. So there you go. That's my 2 cents.
I do want to give, I know we've got two members of the irrigation company board. I don't know if they want to offer any comments. Well, I don't know, when you nod your head like that, I'll make the other guy go first. Just need your name and your address for the record, Dennis.
Dennis Fry, 1448 Santa Clara View Drive. Ben, I'm with you. I have 2 questions that's going to come up for the company. First, you said there wasn't going to be a lawsuit, but if the city can mandate to where, as the company, we can't provide water to our shareholders, then I think there is a lawsuit pending, because you're restricting us giving water to our shareholders. I don't think you can do that. And the other thing I think you have to look at in what you're doing, Mayor, the whole thing was because we're trying to keep beneficial use. But as you keep restricting the amount on each one of these lots and the ground goes away, our beneficial use goes away. Because I'm in the process with the district right now where we've mapped this whole thing, trying to get in line with Dustin and the city on what you guys use and what we use, because we have to do that reporting now. And I mean, we've mapped this out, but if we keep taking these acre plots and putting this amount of grass, when they fly over it and they see what's green, that's what's going to be our beneficial use. And I think that's going to hurt us in our shares or our volume of water if an adjudication comes, because we can't prove beneficial use if we keep going down and down and down, especially some of those lots. And then from the company's point of view, if you get it down so low, I don't know if the company can come out financially. We spend too much time reading meters, fixing stuff and that for no money.
I know that, well, I'm pretty sure you understand. It doesn't affect anything that is platted as of today. So
Yeah.
all of your shareholders now that are using it on their lawns, that can stay. Those uses are not limited to the 2,500 square feet. So anything that has been subdivided, even the new Logano.
Right.
And
I get
new
that.
Camp Fry, everything like that. So it's
Yeah.
just the remaining undeveloped parcels when they do develop. So right now, those parcels are being used. I'm assuming they're being irrigated, and they're putting their water to
Right.
beneficial use.
We are, but I get what you're
And
saying.
it would be
and I
their
understood
choice
that.
to develop.
But
not
say
the
Fair and
cities.
Levitt comes in and develops his, 20-something acres. And you put that to Fair and Acres, you just took 20 acres that we have beneficial use on, and you just put whatever, 1 acre lot, 20, I don't even know what the feet it'd be, but it'll be a half an acre probably by the time everybody got grass on those 20 acres. And so you took 20 acres of beneficial use under agriculture, and now you got an acre maybe.
And that's his choice.
I get that,
To
but
develop.
I'm looking at it from the company. I'm not looking at it at Farron's, I'm looking at the company.
I mean, the city is still probably interested in obtaining new water. There'll be other people that'll want to obtain water, you know, as the future comes about. But we're not mandating that he develop. We're just
No.
saying if he develops, you
I
have to
get it,
follow the
I'm just
district
looking at
plan.
it from the amount of water that you're taking now to what it'll end up being
Sure.
for beneficial use.
And again, there's nobody up here that's happy about this. We thought we had negotiated in good faith
I know.
the exemption area that would allow for the RA zone to be able to continue to develop without being impacted by the limitation. But now they're basically penalizing everybody in the city for that if we tried to keep that in place, so.
Right, no, I get it, I just think that I don't know how much, I don't know how much your turf buyback is worth for future use of water. I don't know if that's a good trade-off or not.
Yeah, it was $142,000 already to residents.
That 27 acres, just for record, we would get about 10% use when developed. I mean, when you go from under the current 10 to
Mayor,
12%.
can I make a comment, just because Dennis brought up, you know, potential litigation? I just wanted to make clear for the record that nothing in this ordinance as proposed would tell somebody they can't use their own water. What the city is saying going forward is that someone on their residential lot can get service from the canal company. And they can do whatever they want with that water on their own lot as long as it complies with these restrictions, right? The only other comment I would say too is I think Dennis, you know, it's a fair question. Is it worth it? And I think that's the question for the council is it worth it? But as far as beneficial use goes, I mean, lawn is not the only way to show beneficial use on a residential property. And so one of the things we were really careful to do when we made these revisions is make sure that everything else is not restricted. You can have an orchard, you can have a garden, you can have other agricultural, horticultural. You could have a little pasture in your backyard with, you know, the number of animals that are allowed under the RA ordinance. So we're trying to make sure all those other options are still there, even though we recognize we're limiting, you know, the actual lawn area.
So is there a risk, and again, just to follow up on the beneficial use, because that was our whole discussion is, we're gonna try to get these into the city, because if we lower our output on what's used, we get, the state could come in and re-adjudicate it and we lose it. And so if you go, okay, we take these, to Dennis, what Dennis has said, I mean, so then you sit there and go, all right, do we consider, you know, I know we've talked about not running irrigation to the heights, but, you know, if you start cutting out the fields, and I don't know what the exact numbers are, it'll be interesting to see where, but those fields are gonna develop over time. And you know, you sit here and start to think, you know, small orchard or a garden, you know, on a 1 acre lot, you go from the water use there to significant, I mean, you go to probably 12 to 15% of what's there. So are we at risk then with our water shares down the road to that comment, or do we feel like we're protected on what we're doing? Does the intent of what we started with, trying to keep the irrigation shares in the city, are we protected in that?
I mean, I've been told, the irrigation's told me that they've got the irrigated area to justify their shares. Jim, come on in. So if they have it today, and as they do the proper planning going forward, they can probably maintain that. But it's probably going to involve, you know, some additional conversion, like, you know, we talked about Santa Clara Elementary, getting it off the culinary, putting it on irrigation. That could take some shares. There's probably some more of that can happen going forward. Jim?
Jim Ants, 800 Old Farm Road. Couple of questions. Jim, there was some talk in there about private water. As you were reading it, is there private sources or something?
Is that on? I'm going to refer to legal counsel Matt Entz or
Yeah,
Dustin, our Public
the-
Works Director.
I caught a little of it, but I didn't follow it.
Yeah, the current version of the ordinance that's in the city code
Oh, okay.
has an exemption for private
Okay,
water.
okay.
And that, so that's what we're talking about is that exemption that's currently in the code in this new version is taken
gone,
out.
okay.
And so this applies regardless of where your irrigation water
Okay.
comes from.
The other question I had is, if a guy's got an acre that he's building on, and he puts fruit trees or pecan trees, but has the base as grass, does that count as grass, or does that count as orchard?
That's actually, sorry, do you want me to answer
No,
that?
go ahead.
I knew you were going to ask me about that at some point. So if you look at the definition of lawn in the ordinance, it talks about closely manicured, grass.
And it says non-agricultural.
Non-agricultural, closely manicured grass, which in my interpretation it would not be grass that's growing freely in an orchard that's only occasionally cut.
Okay, like on my hillside, I have three peach trees there with grass underneath it. And so,
That wouldn't be lawn.
okay, I mean, if you look at that,
But in an orchard, it could just be native or natural or
Well, it's-
something that's not mowed on a weekly basis or manicured.
Yeah, if it's not
Yeah.
manicured to a
Yeah.
lawn standard or residential
well,
lawn
even if
standard.
it was, if you mowed it once a week, if it had
If it had
orchards
trees
in,
on it, It's an orchard.
I mean, that's a lot of
Maybe you
people like
just mow
fruit
it
trees
every
or
couple of weeks.
pecans or
weekly.
something that, flowering plums, you can use, I mean, that's the question, where is it? And is it something that you can live with? I don't know. My question too is the rebate money worth it? How many people really want to cut their lawns down? I don't know, I know you said an estimate there.
Well, that's the number that was given to us by the Conservancy District, and just doing math, that's about $2,700 average per resident that's applied to the program based on the numbers that were given to us, the math. That came from the Conservancy District, I didn't figure that out. But what's interesting here is we had irrigatable area versus lawn area in our first ordinance we adopted. So the lawn area was not to exceed 8%. But the irrigatable area could be 16%, so that was the trees, the bushes, all the stuff that's stripped, they took that out, but they've allowed liberty, like an orchard, a garden, other areas, and they've not put a limitation on it. And I remember originally they wanted us to put a limitation on pools too, and we have not done that. So there is some flexibility here versus what they originally rolled out, but now they're saying it's this, or it's this way, or the highway.
That was another question I was gonna have, is what about pools, future swimming pools?
Can have a pool.
And my point on that is I think this gets amended years to come. I think we're headed that way. I think this is step one of knowing that in order to maintain the growth and that for good or for bad, the water is gonna be the key. And so I don't disagree with that. I just, when you come in and all of a sudden tell somebody that's responsible for where we're at today with, the irrigation and just, well, now it's this, it's, and I don't, I guess there's ways around it, but it's, and I kind of think same thing. I'd love to actually get a print out of actually where the rebates went, just with the draft. I'd love to actually see that number, but even then, the more important thing to me, and Dennis brought it up, is assuring that we can keep that water, and how do we manage that? Does it go through, do we look back at, what Denny was looking at, trying to preserve some of these, and how do you, keep these irrigated fields, but how do you tell somebody not to develop their land, so.
Well, I'm going to give you my honest opinion. I have high regard for the water district, but my feeling is if you don't sign this, the next thing on the line is, no, you didn't sign up with this ordinance, so we're not going to do this or this or this for you. I think it's going to be as much as I hate to see a sign on to it, I think it's going to be a domino effect that if you don't, they're going to come back and have other things, so I don't know.
Thanks, Jim.
That was my question. Do we
Tom?
anticipate any other repercussions if we don't sign this?
No, as soon as they think of them.
I know, right?
I just had one other thought that I think we might want to consider, at least for the company and the shareholders in the company. I think that if we get to a point where this goes forward and the shareholder, say, has 20 or 30 shares of water, and basically he can use 2 or 3 to water that, those shares then become available, and he could take them to the highest bidder. So quite honestly, you could lose them out of Santa Clara, because I think the district or anybody would outbid you on them. And so you're approaching that possibility
Well, and
too.
that can happen today.
It could happen today, but it would make it worse
Sure.
if they cannot put more of it to beneficial use for what they felt like that they wanted to do.
Yeah, at the end of the day, they're gonna take the one that maximizes their benefit to them, and I can't blame them for that.
No, you can't, but by doing this, you're sending it the other direction for sure.
Thanks, Dennis. Council, other questions, comments?
I was thinking about lawn that's non-agricultural versus agricultural, and how you could use that to your advantage in the RA zone, because you could have a huge lawn in your backyard and just keep some animals on it, right?
Guinea
And you
pig
just,
pasture.
yeah, guinea pigs, rabbits,
Few goats.
yeah, a few goats, and you could have as big a lawn as you want. Is that right?
Llamas.
As long as you can document your use.
And maybe you don't mow it as much as the front lawn, or something like that.
Proof of the animals, that it is functioning as a pasture, I think that would be evidence of use.
Right.
It just feels like people with water shares are basically being bribed out of their water shares, the value of them even.
Well, and like I say, those people with shares can market their excess water today and sell that water to the highest bidder. There's nothing in city code or in canal company rules, the way I understand them, that prohibit that. And on the Santa Clara, they can transfer that water up and down from, Southgate all the way to the reservoir. So they have that ability today.
No, like I said, unfortunately, we need to do it, and I thought we did it. I thought we were very responsible when we did it, and it just,
That's the really frustrating thing, is I've sat on that committee for 2 years. This exemption area was not a new idea. It wasn't last minute. It was on the front end of these meetings. Because we have the RA zone. We're kind of in a unique position where we have farm property that's zoned for a large lot that has the water. And
I'd kind of like to see the press release. I would just love to see the press release. I mean, does it hurt us if we wait till April, just so we can see their?
So all the other cities have signed on with this already? Is that what you're saying?
we're the last one.
We were the
Good for
first,
us.
but
We
now
were the
we're-
first to put an ordinance in place.
We're the last because
Because we're thinking about it.
the district didn't
Yeah.
approve it.
See, what's happened is water's such a finite resource. For years, they just metered and, kept track of culinary. Now it's secondary. We need to keep track of both, and that's kind of where the Conservancy District's hopping into that arena, and the DWR through the states involved and others, but this is a statewide phenomenon, and I'm sure it's happening in other western states as well, but yes, it feels like a bit of a mandate.
It doesn't seem fair.
Other questions, council?
It does not seem fair that, is this coming from the state? A mandate from the state?
Yeah, the mandate, according to the district, the mandate is coming from the State Division of Water Resources. The state is funding a large amount of money for the district to facilitate the turf buyback. So the turf buyback funds are coming from the state. So they basically told the district, you get all the cities on board with this ordinance, with these conditions in it, and that money can continue. The district's saying, Santa Clara, look, if you don't do it, fine, But your residents won't be eligible for the turf back money, and the state's backing them on that.
What's the percentage that the owners get back on the turf buyback?
I think it's $2 a foot.
$2 per square foot.
Yeah, and so the math, they said, 84 people have applied, 52 have finished their project by the amount. It's about an average of $2,700 per household.
And we don't know of those funds, how much are coming from the state and
Yeah.
how much are from the excess water surcharge that is being charged to residents that goes to the district. That's all going into conservation and turf feedback. So I don't, of that number, how much is funds that have been remitted by residents and how much is from the state?
From what they told us, all of the turf buybacks that have been happening in Santa Clara has all been district funds. The state money hasn't been used for that, it's just been the district. That's one of the reasons why they're giving us a deadline, is they want to see that stop.
Yeah.
So that they're not just spending district money on Santa Clara stuff so they can access that state money to do it. But
So-
it depends, your question, it depends on how much lawn you've got to pull up and get rid of. They document the amount of turf that you're getting rid of, and then they reimburse you that.
Yeah, no, I did it before the rebate was even available, but I did it not for necessarily for water conservation. It was because I have a yard full of dogs and that just destroys my lawn. And so that's why I did it. But I was just curious what the amount, I understand that's going to vary based on the size of your lawn, but I was just, curious on like what the dollar amount was.
Based on, they say 83 property owners have applied, 52 completed projects for $142,000 in rebates. That's $2,730.
Yeah.
That would be the average, but
But I meant like the dollar, the amount per square foot.
$2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
And if you do get those funds, there is also I don't know what it's called, put on your property.
Conservation.
Yeah,
easement, right?
conservation easement.
Yeah, so it
There's
can't
a
come,
deed
it's not supposed to come back,
restriction
yeah.
They have an easement on the property that you pulled up.
And you can put grass back, you just have to pay them back then, right?
I don't know
I
if
heard
that's
that.
allowed or not.
Well, what happens when the next generation or next homeowner moves in 7 or 8 years down the line and decides they want to put the yard back? I don't think they're going to go after them, but.
Yeah, they will.
Well,
They'll go after them.
Is that
That's
fair?
why they're doing their audits.
yeah, that will be interesting. I want to see that police
And with all
enforcement
the-
by the Conservancy District.
All the new aerial imaging and that, it's pretty easy for them to do the audits.
Yeah.
What does
But-
our public works director think? Justin, you've been in these meetings.
You know my take on it. I have a hard time telling a shareholder that he can't plant over 2,500 square feet of sod. But I'm with you guys, our hands are tied. If we don't sign on to the ordinance, we're rejecting everyone else. And that is the basis of our future water, is conservation. And the fastest way to do conservation is turf removal. That's mainly what we're relying on until this reuse system is in place. And that's, minimum 5-10 years out. That's my thoughts.
And it doesn't affect anything approved. It's just any new approved development moving forward. Till the next round of
Till the
this.
next round.
And it's gonna happen. At some point, it's just, this is step one.
You get an
And I'll just, it's recorded, not just approved. It would be recorded subdivisions.
Which the ones we referred to are the bigger ones in the valley, the half acre,
Yeah,
acre
all
lots,
the
those have
RA
been
ones
recorded.
have been
Yeah.
recorded.
Yeah.
And who will be monitoring and enforcing? The city or the Water Conservancy District?
The city does it at permitting.
We do. We
We
do.
permit
So what
initially.
happens, yeah, so through city inspect, and Cody can probably speak to this better, but they do have to submit a landscape plan with an irrigation, a calculation sheet, and we just check it to make sure that the numbers match, and then we approve that landscape plan along with the building permit and site plan for the home. But they do have to go through that step, and all the cities are doing that now.
And if the homeowner changes it later?
I
That's
think
on
that's
their hands.
Conservancy District or by complaint basis to code.
one of the challenges is that we look at front landscape only to issue a certificate of occupancy. So if a homeowner only does that to meet the minimum requirements, we don't regulate the rear, sides or rear. So they could come in after we leave and put the rest grass, or we just don't see it.
Has the Water Conservancy District addressed anything about that? Mentioned that?
It's not in the ordinance today. I got a hunch enforcement is one of those things that'll be coming.
Yeah. We make them show the entire landscape plan on the site plan, you know, front and
Right.
back, but like Cody said, they don't necessarily put the rear yard in.
Right.
What we see is the front, sometimes they go halfway back or something, but until they have the budget to do so, they don't complete the rest of that in the backyard. Now, if it's a big home in the valley where resources are unlimited, they may do the whole thing. But
Right.
if you have a couple that's at their budget, they're just gonna do the front yard.
One way they're
So,
gonna
Yeah.
try and get compliance is with the water surcharge, that excess
Yeah.
water surcharge. You start irrigating too much, your usage is gonna go up and that rate's gonna jump to that $10 a thousand.
Yeah.
And you're
What-
gonna start paying the penalty that way on your water bills.
That's true.
What we see with most of the homes, you know, that are less than half an acre, they're completely in compliance because they're doing limited lawn areas in the front and back and a lot of xeriscape, not zero, xeriscape, rock, natural type of look, but still have some soft areas, but they're not anywhere close to that maximum. It's the bigger lots that will be the issue.
And we have to, what Matt said, we have cover, you could, I mean, there's language in there that allows for trees and orchard and garden, and it's just, like I said, I know why they're doing it. We need the water, I mean, if you're going to grow it all, you've got to, it's the process that's gone through, and it's, you know, I just want to make sure we're protecting our water, and really right now, there's no way we can. I mean, right now, it's you know, kind of, and I think that's intentional. Eventually, those shares probably make its way, you know, over years, probably make their way back to the irrigation or to the district, but.
Well, Councilman Shakespeare, I think we'll be back here in less than 2 years because here we are today, right? We adopted 2 years ago next month, and we're been asked to look at updates and revisions and what they want. I'm sure it'll be back before us again.
Well, it'll be the next step. It'll be pools. It'll be,
Yeah.
you know, it'll be all of that
Well,
that comes through.
everybody was pretty, you know, with that. There were some cities that were looking at pools. We said, no, we're not going to count the pools. And then the others agreed, and so we're not. So if they do that, I hope they don't do that. But right now, that's not part of the equation.
Yeah, which is good. I mean, like I said, I think
There'll be more discussion.
I think we just, from a city side, we need to really work together with the canal company and just trying to find the best ways to protect it for the future. And I don't know what that means. As people develop, that's, how do we utilize those shares? How do you get it? You know, we may not have it. We may have more water than, and again, I guess the shareholder has the right to do that, but we're also getting pushed back on big lots as well. So that's the other side of the state, is the big lots are being pushed against as well, so.
Okay, well, we've discussed this to death. Anybody ready to make a motion?
No, but I will. Oh, did that pick up on that?
I heard it.
I'll reluctantly make this motion. I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance 2020-12, amending Title 17, Chapter 17.92, the water efficient landscaping and conservation standards as presented.
You meant 2024-02.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, 2024-02.
Okay, got a motion. Do I have a second?
A reluctant second.
I got a reluctant motion and a reluctant second. Motion by Ben and a second by Krista. Any questions on the motion, council? This is an ordinance. All in favor say aye. Ben?
Aye.
Janine?
No.
Krista?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Jarrett?
Aye.
Ayes have it, 4-1. Thank you, council. We appreciate you taking some time, gentlemen. It's always good to see you down here.
You need our advice on anything else?
Well, you never know. You may want to stick around for mayor's reports.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, item C2, review and discussion regarding fiscal year 2024-25 budget calendar. Is Debbie on line? Brock?
Yes,
Is Debbie online, or is that you?
she's not online.
I don't know who has
you.
purple
That's-
marker.
I think
Yes.
the mayor needs to erase it.
Yeah.
It's,
If you draw and you hit
just
your
tell
screen
me.
now, you will draw.
I think you have to hit the button first.
I thought I was watching Brock's screen.
We haven't.
Well, you draw
I didn't
either
have-
way.
Yeah, see, it wasn't me. You guys always blame me, and most of the time it is. See, that's on Brock's.
All right, so
Somebody's drawing on it again.
there we go. We're all trying to figure it out. That was not.
Okay, so you can't give me these new toys. I work off paper.
See, I don't have
It's
that.
like being with my parents.
I don't get that toy. I don't get to
We're
draw.
all trying to.
I don't think so.
Okay,
You have to hit your button.
So we have here for you the budget preparation calendar for this next fiscal year, 2024, 2025. One change that we made that just as I sent out recently is a change in the date of our meeting from February 8th to February 7th on that Wednesday at 11:30. Other than that, it goes through, a lot of it has to do with staff and timing of getting, budgets and projects all listed too, things we have to then go through and bring to council, presenting to you a tentative budget, having a public hearing on that, and then adopting a tentative budget, continued work meetings with council as we work our way through to adoption of the final budget, which is projected to be June 12th. We'll have another public hearing that night, and then pending, if there's no issues that night, would be adoption of the budget. That is pending if there is no tax increase presented at that time. If the council chose, we were looking to have a tax rate higher than what the county is projected for us to have, which the county rate takes into account what we got this year plus new growth. So which it tries to keep the rate at what you pay as a resident flat, relatively flat. So if the council chose to go that way, then we'd have to go through another process of notifying the county, having an additional public hearings, and then potentially adopting that towards the end of July, have those meetings, and then in August, we'd hold that other public hearing, and council would have an option at that time to adopt that budget with the increase, or as we've seen happen sometimes, but maybe not, and going back to the original budget. So that is the schedule for budget adoption this year. Are there any questions?
any questions on the budget schedule? If not, I need a motion.
I move that we approve the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget calendar as presented.
I'll second that.
Got a motion by Krista and a second by Janine. Any question on the schedule? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it unanimously. Item number 3, C3, discussion and action to approve Resolution 2024-03R, a resolution appointing Dave Pond as a representative to serve on the Administrative Control Board of the Washington County Special Service District Number 1 for calendar year 2024 and for such time thereafter until a successor has been designated and appointed. You guys approved Dave to serve on the board last time. We didn't do it by resolution. The solid waste district requires it be done by resolution, hence the resolution is before you tonight. So it's basically just formalizing that appointment by resolution. So any questions? Not, I need a motion.
I move that we approve Resolution 2024-03R, appointing David Pond as our representative on the Special Service District.
Second.
Got a motion by Jarrett and a second by Ben to approve Resolution 2024-03 as presented. Any question on that motion, council?
It's 03R, right?
03R, excuse me. Thank you, Jarrett. Any question on that motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes has it, the resolution passes unanimously. Item 4, appoint council assignments. Brock, have you got that? Council, I went through and just started with last year's list and moved a few things around, and I've prepared this one. Look it over real quick. It's not like it's struck in stone. We can do a little horse trading here or there. For your existing councilman, you know, I've left some of your assignments there, and I've rotated some other assignments. Regarding the city departments, what I'd like to do is rotate you into a different department liaison every year. So this year, you'll see it's a different one than last year. Next year will be a different one again. So over the course of your term, over 4 years, you'll be a liaison over every primary department of the city. And you'll get exposed to work in each of those departments. You can see all of them that I can think of. I took the ones off that were not necessary anymore. Some of these you may not know anything about, like the Washington County Air Quality Board. But there is a board that kind of oversees air quality in the county. They meet quarterly, I think. It's not too much time consuming.
As long as it doesn't look like the Salt Lake Valley, we're good.
But that's the plan. That's your task, is to keep it from starting to look like the Salt Lake Valley. But look it on over there. I know that Janine got with me and would like to see, and I did have the Historical Society and the Museum is on your list, Janine. If anybody has a real burning desire, like Jared, I know better than to try and take him off of mosquito abatement. So that's just, he's done it since he's been in here. He's the boss over there. He loves it. So that's fine with me. If you've got any questions about what's on your list, now's the time to ask. Janine, you'll notice that with some of your experience, the Princess Pageant, I thought fit yours well, and Ben's shunned me the last 2 years, so he kind of got a demerit. So I'm going to hope for better attendance.
I think we've got a subject expert right now.
But again, some of the things that Lena was working on and is going to stay working on, I put on your list, Krista, since you're familiar with it and have a good relationship there. With the Interfaith Council again, and then the Legislative Policy Committee. I know you're active there, so I'm assuming you wanted that one.
Absolutely.
So, any questions about any of these? You good with them?
I'm just curious, if there's a Heritage Commission, is there only one person on that?
There's one person that kind of oversees the efforts of the Heritage Commission, just like there's only one that does economic development.
Oh, okay.
So it's typically one, you can have, just because your name's, or Heritage Commission isn't on your name, doesn't mean you can't have input there. It just means that they're the liaison.
Yeah.
So in this case, that's Ben, so all you got to do is elbow him and tell him what you want to hear. We do have assignments that come up during the year that we'll discuss and make those as well. So new committees that come along. Other questions, comments?
Sounds good.
Will this get emailed out then after?
Yep.
Or is,
Yep, as soon as I'm going to ask you guys to approve it via motion and a vote, and once that's done, we'll email it to you. And then, especially for you new ones, if there's a question on when they meet, who am I meeting with, just get with Brock, and we'll figure that out and get that information to you.
Mayor, can we horse trade one?
Hey, I'm just sitting here waiting for you guys to make a suggestion.
Unless Dave is the Swiss days?
You want to be Swiss days?
I would.
Dave, if whatever he wants to trade you, take it. That's,
Except
if I
flood
don't
control.
teach you anything else.
You can't have flood control, but
Well, I was just gonna say, he can just have it, and then we'll just leave it at that.
I'd like to be, if that's okay, Mayor. and
You want
Dave,
Swiss
if that's
days?
okay with you, I think that would be great.
Okay.
I got a great idea, just an
All right,
idea.
so we're going to put Swiss days on Ben's list. You want, Dave, you want to do economic development or suicide prevention?
Yeah, I'll do economic development.
Okay, well, so we'll just trade Swiss days for economic development. Brock, you can make that change?
Yep. That'd be great.
That's how the trades work right there, guys.
Great. I was going to throw in a first-round pick, but we just traded across, so.
You can have anything on there except the mayor's list, and I'm mandated to go to those 5. Anybody else? Everybody else is good?
I'm good.
Jarrett, you're good?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys heard, but CEC will disband.
And my wife's
but not for a while.
particularly excited about having you on the cemetery. I hope your weeding skills are up to par. There's a high bar there. Okay, if I can get Brock made that change, and if I can get a motion to approve the city council assignments?
A motion that we approve the city council assignments with the amended change.
I'll second that.
Okay, I got a motion by Dave and a second by Jarrett to approve the new city council committee assignments with the change between Ben and Dave as discussed. Any question on that motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it unanimously. Thank you, council. Item number 5 is appoint a mayor pro temp. There is, the city has a mayor pro temp that is appointed after every election. Jarrett has the existing mayor pro temp. He's been in that position for a number of years. Council, does anybody want to make a nomination for a new mayor pro temp?
I'd like to make a nomination, I think. Oh, sorry, you ready?
Oh. I'm not going to get in your way.
I'll let you keep finished.
No, I was just going to say, anybody want to make a
Okay.
motion?
Well, I think Councilman Waite's done a great job these last few years. I think it'd be a good idea to have the other council members have a turn to learn that role. So I nominate Councilman Shakespeare for Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, got a nomination for Councilman Shakespeare. Is there any other nominations? Whoa. Okay, since there's no other nominations, I would say let's do a vote. All those in favor of Councilman Shakespeare serving as the mayor pro temp going forward for the next 2 years, say aye.
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 Is there anybody opposed? Hell, Jared or Ben, neither one of them two voted against it. So it must be a good deal. Okay, so Ben Shakespeare is the new mayor pro temp. Thank you, council. Under reports, mayor and council reports, Ben.
Mayor, I have none. Looking forward to a busy year. This is great.
Okay. Janine, do you have any reports?
No?
Any meetings yet?
Very
Okay.
good.
Krista?
We had a great day at the Capitol for League of Cities and Towns. The youth council was there, along with a lot of other cities' youth councils, and they looked like they were having a great time learning about housing in Utah. LPC, we met at the day at the Capitol, but also on Monday. I would say the biggest concern right now is HB 306, residential housing amendments by Representative Raymond Ward. Cities will be required to allow 8 units to the acre if presented, and allow
Is it
for,
a mandate that we allow it?
and also starter homes, and also first-time home buyers, deed restricted up to 5 years, owner occupied. So the league is pushing back quite a bit on that, and they've asked us to push back with our legislators as well. So we'll be watching that one really closely. Lance is doing a great job watching about 100 bills.
Yeah, he keeps
Yes.
sending me emails.
I would
Getting all
say
those
that.
I have to
out.
adjust my spam track.
I appreciate all you're doing, so it's very helpful. Thank you.
Thanks, Krista.
I want a ditto on that. It was really good to be there and see our youth council come and join us and everything. That was good. And those have not passed yet, right?
No, they're
They
just
haven't even
in,
passed the House.
they're in debate or whatever you want to call it,
They're
in
still-
committee or,
Doesn't-
okay. So it hasn't even hit the floor yet.
Good.
Okay, Dave?
I am heading out as a chaperone for Snow Canyon High tomorrow. They're going to Southern California for music stuff. So
Very cool.
just going down as a chaperone. So
Good for you, man. Hope it stops raining down there.
yeah, mid-70s. So
Jared?
Two things. I had a resident reach out to me and ask if the city could help promote businesses in Santa Clara. And I said, well, we did the Shop Local program and tried to highlight, and then we just highlighted Lammy's at the What's Up Down South. But they suggested that it was like in the city newsletter, or maybe it comes from the Economic Development Group, or maybe a council member's in charge of it, to just have like a monthly highlight of a business in Santa Clara.
Who's that economic development liaison?
The gentleman sitting to the left of Jarrett is now
Dave?
over.
There you go. There's a task.
So I don't know, and we could maybe bring it up at the budget
We,
retreat.
we, yeah, and we can talk about it at the budget retreat. Years ago, we had, prior to Harmon's and all of that up there, the economic development was a lot more active trying to get anything going. And we did some business spotlights. So the problem was then we only had about 3, so you can only do one, and then you have to do another one, do the same one again. And so, but now I think that'd be a good idea. And maybe pull out get with Brock and get the names of those people that are on the committee.
okay.
And it may be time to form a new committee, and be brainstorming about some names or some business owners. Maybe the person contacted you, Jarrett, all the council, think about some people that'd be good on that economic development, because I don't know the last time they met.
Jim oversees economic development there, but it's been a while since that committee has met, so.
Yeah, I think it's something we need to do, and I think we can highlight a business each month. We've got so much going on right now with all the projects out there, but I think this is something that, with our general plan rewrite and the other things we're working on, this is something I think we could focus on as well. Maybe we start with quarterly meetings. I don't know that we need monthly right out the gate, but
Quarterly probably be enough.
I think with that, we just need to put some parameters on businesses that we're highlighting. Are we highlighting brick and mortar businesses? Are we highlighting home occupations? All those, because, when we start doing them, if you miss
Right.
somebody is, then why didn't you do mine? And so that's, I'd say, because some of the concern from the staff side is making sure that how we do this and highlight, because we have a lot of home occupations, more home occupations than we do brick and mortar business. And we have a lot there that also do a great thing in our community, and so.
And food
it should be-
trucks.
That's a good thought.
Yeah, and this resident was like, I didn't even know that Alfredo Oz was open. They didn't do like a big grand opening or anything. It'd be nice if the city at least put out, hey, there's a new business open in Santa Clara, and this is it.
We'll
So-
show up at midnight and think we can have a burrito together.
I know. I've been craving one for a while.
I didn't know they were open until Dustin said today that he stopped by there this morning. It's on his way to work to get a burrito, whether that's true or not, but that's how I found out they were actually open.
Well, I feel like the chamber does that kind of in St. George, but does the Sunshiners, that group, would they participate in those?
Yeah, but that business has to join the chamber, be a member of
Oh.
the chamber to get that benefit. So yeah, we've done ribbon cuttings from the chamber in Santa Clara, because it's the St. George area chamber, but that's all on the business owner.
Well, I think the plan was to have our shop local night again in April like we did last year. We had banners made and, we can get the word out. We won't have the university students, but the idea is we'll try to do that each year. I mean, that was a big effort for that last year to get that out and done.
Yeah, for sure. I really enjoyed that last year. My other question is probably for Chief. So I had a resident call the police department today asking for code enforcement and was told there's no help there, and that it's up to the city to handle that. So she was pretty frustrated, and I'm just curious. And this all revolves around the food truck up by Dollar Tree and how to get them to comply. And I don't know if they even know about the new law.
Well, I'm not, I'd have to check into that specifically, but I would be surprised if that was a response. As you know, we had the one code enforcement individual decide to retire. And in my conversations with Brock and my conversations with Dell, I was looking for direction on what you wanted to do there. Do you want to hire somebody? What do you want to do? We still take care of sidewalk to sidewalk, and those things that go into the building areas that it's not our expertise, we do pass up. I'm disappointed to hear that they were told that. Should have called and come back and asked me, but if they would want to get in contact with me, we'd be happy to help them. But the things that go beyond the sidewalk, we usually will refer back to the department that would handle that. Do you know what the complaint was again?
Yeah, just we passed a new law a couple weeks ago about distance for sound and for noise from residential areas. And so the food truck that's there in the Dollar Tree parking lot.
I actually went over there and checked that myself personally. The noises, and we've talked about it in council here before, the problem is that actually getting the legal, what's illegal, the sound and where you can hear it from. And I went out there, I thought it was over the top. I wouldn't want to live there either, but it became an enforcement issue. And so we were looking at the decibels, the distances and those kinds of things. And also, I think I reported to the council, I had a problem where it was parked. They just parked right in the middle of the parking area. If you go and look at some of these others, they're off into the parking lots, but I have a problem when they don't have any coning off. They're right there by the driveway. I thought it was a little unsafe, and then the lighting at night was not good. So I had some problems with it, but the question was the enforcement piece. And we need some direction there from the council. I'll do whatever you want. But to go in and write a citation for too much noise and they go to the court, it's sort of hard for me to say, yeah, according to Bob Flowers, there's too much noise, right? But it's a problem. So I guess we'll probably need to work on that a little bit more. Your thoughts on that, Cody?
Well, so on for our budget retreat is on there to talk about code enforcement, because as Bob said, Kevin, who did that, retired. And so right now, code enforcement is, as Chief said, they're doing curb to curb. Between there, we have our administrative code enforcement, which we adopted years ago, which would be Cody, handling those things from back there. And so if there's those issues, we can continue down using our ACE and going that way on doing the code enforcement that way. But it is on the discussion at the budget retreat to what avenue we want to go. Dell has relayed to me that he does not want to share in that. He wants to go separate ways with code enforcement. So that would be a discussion at the budget retreat on how we want to handle that going forward. So
on the code enforcement piece of that, one of the difficulties we had was our procedures. For instance, like when it became an issue of weeds, we generally would write a letter, follow up on it, but what do you do with people that just ignore it, right? But we've had real good compliance with vehicles, and that will continue. I mean, as far as there's a piece of the code enforcement I think the councils need to decide is on the private property piece of that. What do you want us to do? We're happy to continue doing a lot of that, but I just need direction from both. Kevin left, and Dale told me they would want to go do their own thing with their building department, which is fine with me. And if you remember, we took it simply because it was a budget issue for both cities as far as what you wanted to do there. I don't believe that it's a full-time gig on either city, but it can. Cody's done it in both areas, and I would defer that judgment to him. But as far as the traffic stuff, anything at all, we're still strong in enforcement there. So,
Okay.
But I would agree with the noise. It's horrible.
So I guess on this, we passed it, but are we?
Was there a
So you
penalty?
get that call, we passed this and just a few
So
weeks
yeah,
ago.
so it's 60 decibels at property line.
But do we have a way to read that? My guess is it probably still meets the ordinance,
Well,
but
we can get a meter. You do that for parties, for a certain distance.
Yeah.
And there's meters that we can get. Other cities use them. We'll just need to purchase one, and then we'll measure it out, and we can certainly enforce it.
Buy one?
But I think you're right. I think it still meets
Oh,
And it had to be 100 feet from
Yeah.
property line as well.
Yeah,
I think, so we have a decimal reader. We have.
do, and if you recall 2 weeks ago when we presented this, I said I was the weird city planner that's walked around with a decibel meter out there. And the readings we get at about 65 feet away, the last time I did it where I was parked was between 58 and 61. So it's exceeding that because where it's located right now is approximately 30 to 35 feet from the property line where that wall is, has to be 75 feet. So that's one thing. We need to discuss that, how we're going to enforce. Has to be 75 feet away from that residential boundary. That's one thing. They have to get a business license at $50 a year, and they have to show us that they have the health department approval and state approvals. That's the other thing. And it cannot exceed 60. The decibels cannot exceed 60 at the 75-foot threshold, that distance. Those are really key things. Then we got into the businesses with the menu board and the speaker and those decibel levels. Because unfortunately, Alfredo's A, as good as they are, so they ended up on the end next to the residential neighborhood rather than next to Pine and Parkway, which is where they probably should have been. So we have to look at that. But we need to talk about how we're going to enforce these actions and get people to be compliant and go through a process.
The crazy thing in this event is it's a private property. Like, I'm shocked that the person that owns this property that's leasing to other tenants is actually I mean, it just seems, normally as a truck, you have to get permission and of the land. Maybe they have it, but I just can't imagine what, I don't know. So.
Matt, is there penalties in the ordinance?
You're testing my memory here.
Well, I think from, on the ACE side, there are, I believe it's going through some warnings and that, and I think it can come up to the $25 a day that they're in violation, but we have to go through the steps of that. And then also on that side is on the administrative code, what we would need to do, pending we get some pushback on it, is we need to have a judge, pick a judge out that would hear those.
Appeals.
Yeah.
The third offense, they don't qualify for the turf buyback.
So
Yeah.
So
They
we
don't get
have
their
to do
turf
more
buy.
before we can sick the chief or our code enforcement on it.
No, we can right now, Cody could go out there tomorrow, and if they're not in compliance, he could issue them just a warning, hey, here's a letter, this is the code, this is what you need to do. I'll let Cody can take.
Test. I would issue that to the property owner. And to your point, Ben, yeah, I've reached out to him and asked for some feedback. Let him know of the activity that was going on his parcel. Haven't heard back from him yet, so.
So he's had his warning.
I asked him politely, and he.
Okay, convert that to a warning tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
Cody is so excited.
If you need backup,
Well, first, we should probably measure it at the property line as the ordinance states and make sure he exceeds the decibel level. So hopefully they're in operation tomorrow, and I will go measure that.
attaboy.
Yeah, that's probably the start.
And that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. I had an MPO meeting and a COG meeting, but I was under the weather and didn't go, so hopefully they treated us good there. And flood control will be meeting next month. Mayor's Association's having some interesting conversations about Zion wanting to limit oversized vehicles inside the park. So we've got a meeting coming up that's going to be all about that one, and we're getting a lot of feedback from the legislature that we're talking about there, so there'll be more to come. Staff reports, do you guys have anything burning a hole in your pocket you need to talk about tonight? Oh, Gary's shook his head no and raised his hand. You got that in school, or how'd you learn that one?
I don't know. This new school, I don't know. I just have something for Ben. I have no news tonight, Ben.
Gee. The generator didn't blow up or nothing?
The night's young.
I love Gary.
Okay, the rest of you are okay?
Just, I would give to Lance, if you.
Oh, yeah, I'm supposed to give Lance a few minutes for legislative update. He's not bad enough that he's ruining my email life, and
Well, actually, it's not that bad. We've had 532 as of yesterday have actually been filed. We've reviewed, or I've reviewed 176, and 61 are active. I've only sent you guys a handful of them. So there's a lot more out there. But I would appreciate your feedback on them. You can click in there and give comments. I know some of you have. As Krista mentioned, HB 306 is going to be a big one that is going to get pushback from everybody. Those are some of them. Justice court reform is another one on topic. And with joint resolution supporting reform, they were pretty clear putting cities on notice. They are intent on doing something. Not sure what, but it's something worth considering and looking at, that changes are coming, and what they looked at was magistrate. Couple others, HB 175 impact fee amendments is going to allow for fire suppression vehicles, so that's a good thing. I'm told the difference is commercial versus residential, so this will allow on both. HB 180, short-term rental amendments. They want us to adopt an ordinance for the health, safety, and welfare of short-term rental occupants. So, interesting one there. There's a bunch we could really go over, depending on how much time you really want me to take up. The one that's going to come that could be interesting for you guys specifically, HB 80, conflict of interest disclosures will require you to file them electronically. Trying to figure out exactly when, if it's just the annual, or if you have to do it every single meeting. And one that's unnumbered, local option sales tax. That's the fire and EMS from 392 from last year. Some technical revisions are being made to fix the problems we had last time. I know there were some questions on how the voting's going to work or who's going to be doing it. It looks at this time that all cities that have fire and EMS will be participating, so that the question of, what happens if we pass it but St. George doesn't? Are we going to push business out? If it goes the way people are talking now, that'll be a moot point because they'll all have it. I'm trying to find the other one that just came through Monday, but this one's a big one, and truth and taxation revisions would require a voter for every single truth and taxation. I know there's some difference of opinion. Some people have posted comments on that, but the bigger point is it would be expensive for us to do that every time, and it wouldn't just be a public hearing, it would be vote every time for the residents.
Yippee.
Well, on that, can't it be transparent to all the taxpayers? We all want it to be open, so we know what we're getting.
This one, transparency is already there. We have to, it's a public, right now for truth and taxation, if we're going to raise taxes, there's a public hearing that has to happen. So the notices go out, all of that stuff. Now we're going to add another measure to that where we would still have to do all of that, but then it would have to go to a ballot measure. And I can't remember off the top of my head, but every time we do a ballot measure, there is a cost to that we facilitate. We have to pay the county for these ballots. So then it becomes how much are we going to spend to get that versus what we're going to see in return for that measure. It requires, even just to hold the tax rate would actually require a truth in taxation.
So it's basically to require everyone to be able to vote on everything.
For
Can we
increasing
bundle
taxes.
that? Yeah,
It's another step. Yeah, it complicates it a little bit.
yeah.
I won't say whether it's good or bad, but it would have an impact on us, if we wanted to do that.
Our election this year, which is what it would be probably every year, is about $10,000,
It's pricey.
give or take, to do an election.
So it basically means you can't do that unless you're already paying for it, right?
But you
Because
could
you can just
budget
add it
for it.
onto a ballot that you're already paying
Yeah.
for.
Mhm. But if you did it like in this
In an
coming
off
year,
year.
you guys said, if it was passed for the time, just hypothetically, we could say we were going to do it, and you go through all the transparency of public hearings and public meetings that for the public, you go through that, then you still have to put it on a ballot, which would then increase, you'd be doing that individually, just in Santa Clara or whatever municipality chose to do it.
Okay. Thanks, Lance.
You're welcome.
We expect more to come.
I have 3 pages if you
Oh, that's good. You're good, bro.
And know in that Engagify, when you go in there, you can add comments. And also, if you haven't noticed, there's a spot where you can also check what's your position if you oppose or neutral. Just make that, also you can change that. That gives him some help when he's up there meeting and people ask him, hey, this is where my council, this is where we sit, so we appreciate that.
All righty. We don't have executive session tonight, right? We do have executive session to
Discuss litigation.
potential litigation. Okay. Before we do that, Rayleigh Madrid, this is Brad
Wilson.
Yeah, Brad Wilson's local liaison. She sat through the whole meeting, so I just wanted to introduce you to council. If you don't know who she is, I'll let her introduce her trusty sidekick, her bodyguard. He's wearing the same shirt, so I'm assuming that they're together. Just real quick, come on up to the mic, introduce yourself, in case they see you around.
Yeah, hi, I'm Rayleigh Madrid. I'm Brad Wilson's Southern Utah Field Director. If you have any questions, I'd love to meet with you, talk a little bit about Brad. He'll also be down here February 6th. We're doing a town hall that I'd love for you all to come attend, and I can give you my card or get you the information. This is Lauren, my bodyguard and my driver. Just kidding. Lauren's just a big help on the campaign, so thanks for
Great.
having us. Brad just wanted me to come hear what's going on in Santa Clara and report it to him.
There you go. It's all about water. Thank you, Rayleigh. Okay, council, I need a motion to go into executive session to discuss potential litigation.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Kristen, a second by Ben. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimous. We'll go ahead and excuse the staff unless you've been asked to stick around. Thank you, staff. We appreciate you. Thanks, Rayleigh. For you newbies, when she gives me the nod, we can start talking about executive session. She changed